Hi, I'm Nikkala Page, and this is my husband Justin. We are pregnant with our second baby, but wanted to take a little bit of time today to share our story of the birth of our first daughter, who's 8 months old, and our experience with hypnobirthing and how it really helped us in our first journey getting our daughter earthside. And while it didn't go the way we wanted, we feel that given the techniques that we've learned with hypnobirthing, we're going to be able to have a successful VBAC, and excited to share that if things don't go the way that you planned, how magical it still can be. So we started our hypnobirthing journey. I am a very type A person, so I actually knew like days after getting pregnant that I wanted to do hypnobirthing. And it was through my good friend, Dr. Mallory Snyder. She's a pelvic floor therapist, and she just had the most wonderful things to say about care. So we had a lot of guidance early on to find the doctor that we had, who's Dr. Cap, knowing that we were a high-risk case because I have something called ITP, which means that my body doesn't clot well because I don't have enough platelets. So I knew that we had to deliver in a hospital, although I did go and look at different birthing center options, found out that they couldn't do that, so went the next best route and went to Dr. Cap. We also knew that we wanted to have as natural and birthing center-like experience, and so we knew that doula was so important for that. And so maybe at week 6, I had a doula. And I think it was, we found out we were pregnant in October, and by mid-January I had dragged my husband to the hypnobirthing class, and I guess you can, the introductory class, you can talk to how you felt about in that first introductory class.
It was a lot, and I was sort of mentally prepared, but also it caught me off guard. I mean, a lot of vagina talk. So yeah, when we first went to class, it was a little bit overwhelming, but I think that we realized that the tools of visualization were going to be key for us having a successful labor and birth. And yeah, from that moment on, I was on board, and we both used all the techniques, brought them home, practiced them, so that when it was game time, we would be prepared and ready to go.
Yeah, and for me, I think it was more, a big thing that they don't really talk about in the introductory class of hypnobirthing is getting both partners on the same page. For me, it was invaluable to have him understand everything a woman goes through during her prenatal term, and then also her postpartum. And for him to understand that after every single class that we had every Tuesday, he just left with just such like an admiration for what I was going through, and a deeper understanding of like this journey that I had to embark on. Thankfully not solo, I had him. He actually said to me one time, although I'm not sure if he means it now, that he's actually a little bit jealous that I get to have this experience, because the way that hypnobirthing frames it is, it's just such a deep and connecting experience, and that is 100% true. And it's unique to a woman, and it's something that we can only experience. But it was just nice to have my partner understand that, but also understand all the hurdles that we were gonna have to jump over, and just be there and on the same page, because I didn't have one moment in my birth where I didn't feel like he was in lockstep with me. I thought that for my labor, it was, I had been leaking, or everyone kept telling me I was peeing, but I had been like a little bit of a leak for a couple days. So I had a feeling that something was gonna happen really soon. I was just shy of 39 weeks. And at 2 a.m., I woke up and I went to the bathroom, and I actually woke up in a small pool of water, nothing like actual water breaking. Went to the bathroom and I walked into this place. I knew that something like actually was starting. I went and told him very calmly, like, I think something's happening, I'm not really sure. Like, I have mild contractions, but it's nothing like where I couldn't just operate normally. I actually continued to work. Like I didn't, nothing was really phased. I went and got acupuncture that day. Things were gradually increasing throughout the day, but nothing to a point where we wanted to like shut everything down quite yet. It wasn't until about 9 p.m. that night where I was like, okay, like I think I need to go into my den. I need to, we need to darken things up a little bit, just because I didn't want to be around lights and TV and anything. I wanted to really turn inward and focus on the labor. And so I got into the bath. I think I was really, really starting to get into my labor journey at that point. So it was about, you know, it was probably like 15 hours in from when I actually like lost my mucus plug, and I shut everything down. I didn't have any text messages, I didn't have anything. I gave Justin my phone. I just wanted to be connecting with the baby. And that's one thing that we learned from hypnobirthing. I'm typically the kind of person who's like live updates on everything, let's tell everybody, like, and I knew from early on after going to hypnobirthing that how important it was to turn inward and then to focus on me and the baby, to not create that amount of pressure or, you know, to create just like an expectation and people asking, even for him too. I just knew it was so important that we had that privacy and to be able to honor our experience of our daughter's birth. And so
it made all the difference. We would walk, we just connected, we put on music, lit some candles, and just made it was really special. And I think I was a little taken back by the whole, like how intimate it was.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. We went into our room actually because my sister was here watching disco and we turned our hypnobirthing tracks on. So we had just amazing music in the background, really dimly lit candles. I was on the ball. We had him like rubbing my back and just doing all these different positions. Care is completely right. Whatever that you think you like in the class, you will do the exact opposite of when you are laboring. So just get comfortable with all the different positions. One of my favorite parts of labor was like, your body is so intelligent. You have an ability to, you know, what you think you're experiencing, you know, for me at 2 a.m. with these contractions is nothing like what you're gonna experience minutes before you deliver your child. It is a much different level of, you know, just intensity, emotion, everything, but your body has an amazing ability to recalibrate. So I didn't really know my pain scale or anything or how that shifted until the baby was actually here. But looking back, it was just like I would have certain contractions, I would have certain, you know, levels of pain, or what I thought was, you know, this severity, and then I would look at the clock and 6 hours would pass and the things felt equally, you know, as intense, but you were at a whole new level and your body is just so powerful. So I think one of the things for me in this next time around is kind of just surrendering to my body and kind of just letting it take the lead and not trying to like overthink of like, oh no, like you probably have this much longer to go, or you have, you know, you're prepared for this. It's kind of, your body will do it for you. And that's one thing that was so invaluable for me, to have that knowledge of hypnobirthing to like go into. And there's the pamphlet that Care gives you that talks about euphoric birth, that talks about how your hormones work together and how an unmedicated birth is just so powerful because your hormones will, again, do it for you. They'll, you know, you'll have oxytocin that will then, you know, trigger the pain mitigation hormone, and then everything, you know, it's just this really strong ripple effect. And I lived it, like, you know, after we labored at home for a total of 48 hours, and I didn't until the last, you know, 2 hours actually feel like, okay, this is to a point where I think I need to go and, you know, be in the space that I'm gonna be in to deliver this child. Like I wish I could have had a home birth, because I think that things would have gone a little bit differently and I would have felt a little bit safer, but given the circumstances, you know, how it worked out was fine. But this next labor, I know that my body can do it, because it's just, hormones are so amazing. And, you know, even postpartum, hormones are crazy, but they're so amazing if you can feed and treat them right. And having that like knowledge now, like looking back to where we were in our room, it was very magical. And just that, like, I would have, you know, this contraction and Justin would be there, you know, hugging me, rubbing me, loving me. And then after it would stop, we'd look at each other, we'd be crying, and then we would start cracking up. Like it was like this level of like intimacy and connection, and like, you know, we were just like, I've never wanted him more in my whole life. And it was just like, I was like, oh, but we have to be like safe, because I think my water's broke, so like, I don't know. And so it was just like, it was just such an interesting experience just to have, and it was just so powerful to go through that. And like I said, we did that for about 48 hours at home. I would say, you know, 24 hours. We didn't sleep at all that Thursday night just because contractions, and he was texting our doula and just letting her know like what was going on. And we got up the next morning and we went to our doctor and found out that we were nowhere near as far along as we thought that we were. So he suggested we go home and we kind of just chill and we, let labor take its course. So we did that. We came home. It was a little bit discouraging just because, after you've been what you think labor for so long, looking back now, it was such an enjoyable experience. It wasn't like anything to, be upset about, but you're so eager at the time. We came here, we chilled out. I think we watched a lot of rom-coms. And then again, it was about 4 or 5, I went back into our room because I just had to be in the dark space, the den. I just knew that I needed to feel very safe. And that's when things really, really picked up for me. And again, it was very similar to the same thing we did the night before. There was a lot of time in the shower. I now know that I was having a lot of back labor because my daughter was posterior. And so it was a different type of pressure and pain than what's described. And so it created us to be a little bit confused on where we were progressing. Pain is much higher, it's in your back, so it's not like the lower pain. And so, I am very stoic. And so if I could give anybody advice, is to really just listen to your body. I think first-time moms and laboring moms are kind of quick to rush to the hospital. We probably could have been a little bit more along on that side. It would have helped a little bit, but so yeah, that was until we did that until about 2 a.m. when our doula came over. We wanted Justin to get a little bit of sleep, which I think I gave him about 22 minutes before I decided to come out and tell him that I needed him and that I think that we should go to the hospital now because things are starting to feel a little different, and I knew that I needed to get some sleep, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do that at home because of my platelet issue. I couldn't really have any medicine, so they could have given me something to relax and help me sleep. And so at that point in my labor, just because I was so exhausted, hadn't slept, we made a decision that if we went to the hospital, that's the amount of medicine that we would take just to hopefully get baby where she needed to be and labor to progress where it needed to be. We had a very intense drive to the hospital. Luckily it was 2 a.m. so it was very fast and no traffic. We showed up to Encinitas and were put into the room. The hospital, to be completely honest, wasn't the most amazing experience coming from your house, but I do think that's because when they did check me, I was 9 centimeters dilated. So we showed up and kind of put everybody there into a state of urgency. And so things just felt a little bit more rushed than they needed to be. It felt a little bit rushed, but I totally get where they were coming from just because I was 9 centimeters dilated, and at that point, if labor was to progress, how it does in the textbooks, then baby should have been here pretty quickly. From that moment on, I was in my own world. I was laboring, I was contracting, probably.
Yeah, we put on our music, we kept the lights low, made it as comfortable as we could. But I think that they were expecting the baby to come any second, so things were pretty hectic, and yeah, just nurses running around. It was just a matter of us trying to keep each other calm, and
And we were. I think that was the most interesting part is when, one of the things that they tell you within labor that's scary is, you kind of absorb whatever feelings your providers are giving you, and we didn't. It didn't faze us. We were able to just, because we had the training that we did and knew the breathing and knew that I looked to him, he looked to me, we really tried, we knew how to communicate. That's again one of the things that during hypnobirthing, we trusted each other so much in this experience that it was just I could look at him, I could read his face immediately, and if he was calm and collected, I was calm and collected, and I think that he would look at me and he wouldn't mirror me, which was good. Because I think that I gave him a little bit more, now I know I gave him a little bit more stress than.
I think that's important. There was also the fact of your platelet issue, the issue with if they were going to give you anesthesia or spinal block. There was a lot of other concerns that I was having to, that were on my mind. And so it was important for me not to communicate that to you, So
we got to the hospital at 4 a.m. We had another 3 hours pass. No baby had come. So at 9 centimeters, that's what we now know is just a little strange just because baby should, you know, when you're progressing that quickly, baby usually comes. And so we had been tipped off a little bit that something might not have been going according to what we wanted. And so when Dr. Cap showed up at 7, they came in, and I will admit that I had way too long of a birth plan. It was definitely double-sided. And I think we scared the nurses who walked in because of it. I was very particular about everything. And one of the things that we did was just kind of shift and jive. And we took the information that we were given, looked at each other, made a decision that worked for us. One of the things that we kept doing was, you know, risk versus reward, and constantly weighing that. And even when you're, you know, that deep into labor and, you know, you're at 9 centimeters, like at that point, especially after, you know, 52 hours, like you just, it's not that you want the baby out, you want the baby safe, and you want mom safe. It's a pretty long labor, it's pretty taxing. And so at that point, they came in and asked me to break my water. I thought it had already broken about 4 times. Apparently it didn't. So they broke my water, and then we started pushing for about 3 hours. Retrospectively looking back, it's probably one thing that I would have held off on a little bit longer, only because knowing that my child had the biggest head and she was a 9-pound, 3-ounce baby, I think we needed a little bit of the water to shift her where she needed to be. Regardless, we did it. We pushed for a very long time, for 3 hours, and at the end of those 3 hours, we were at about the 56-hour mark. And because of my platelet issue and the exhaustion, we decided that for the safety of the baby and for me, that it was best to go into a C-section. And that is when I think the level of intensity really went up. Not because it was like an operating room, it's because of the risk of my platelet issue. I will say that everything that was the calmest of our hospital experience was actually going through the OR. I can't say enough wonderful things about the hospital staff. That is actually when we were most reassured. We had such wonderful support. We were educated on every element of it, like what we were getting into. It was just my personal risk of going under and, you know, whatnot. So Dr. Cap was absolutely amazing and helping get us the right team that we needed. And I think we stopped pushing at about 10:45, and all I did was ask Dr. Cap, please cut me in a way that I can have a vaginal delivery, and I would love to just have a gentle cesarean. And you know, Dr. Cap usually has those standards. He's one of the best doctors for more of the natural mamas that have to deliver in a hospital. And so when we went into the OR, we definitely had, it was, you know, high stakes type experience, but I felt so calm. Again, it was just like, I had so much faith in my body, and just that, like, the whole idea of, like, people do this all the time, like mom's labor, babies come, like, obviously things can change and make things high risk, but at no point did I feel high risk. And I think that's actually when my body responded the way it did. Like, it was just like, it did what it needed to do. My Dr. Cap, who turns into a surgeon at that point, the anesthesiologist, everyone was just so amazed. Justin was able to come in, and our daughter had, she had meconium in her lungs, and she had a little bit of umbilical cord wrap, so her heart was dropping. So I didn't immediately get to grab her, but Justin did. And so everything on our birth plan from that element went straight to Dad. We got to let the cord pulse for a little bit. You know, all of those things still stayed. And then as soon as I was done in surgery, he brought her over. I was able to kiss her, and you know, as soon as surgery was done, I went into the room and they put the baby on me, and it was amazing. So it was definitely like a wild experience. It didn't necessarily go to my birth plan by any means.
Which is life.
Which is life. I joke with my daughter that she's like our little Buddha, because she taught me so much before she was actually even aware of what she was teaching me. And that's one of the biggest lessons that we're taking into this next birth, is like total surrender. Like, you have to, you know, care teaches throughout all of her classes that you can only do so much until it's up to the baby, and the baby will decide the route that she wants to come in. Side door, you know, regular door, whatever we called it. You know, the baby's you can only control so much up until the baby decides to take over. And that's one of the things for me that I'm really kind of embracing this pregnancy, is kind of just releasing control and, you know, enjoy the things that you love about your pregnancy and taking those tools. So for us in this pregnancy, we're doing a lot of breathing, or I am doing a lot of more workouts that actually strengthen my abdomen and my transverse, just so I can help, you know, push when baby does want to tighten, hug baby throughout my pregnancy, connect. We'll be doing the hypnobirthing tracks at night to help get me in the state of when I hear it. It's just very relaxing. great, we are going to do a refresher course with hypnobirthing. It feels like we just did it, because we kind of did. We have 8-month-olds. So I think for us, it was like a no-brainer that going and doing, like the second they found out we were pregnant, we're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a VBAC. And you know, people are like, oh my gosh, why would you do all these things? But for me, it's so important because it's not my birth, it's my baby's birth. And I don't want to take away the experience of, you know, her having that. I think the reason that Wiley, our first daughter, has thrived so much is that she went through like a full labor. She got all the hormones that she needed to from my body. After 56 hours, we were, you know, we did everything but push her out. And so that whole, again, like the hormone connection with the mom and baby, everything, she got almost everything she needed in that. And so I'm hoping with this baby, we have a very similar experience and actually like complete that cycle, just because I do believe it's so powerful. And I think medicine is, especially after having a spinal block, I think it's insanely valuable for people. But for me, it's just so important that the baby gets to come into the world as aware and as natural and as connected with mom as possible. And so that's for me and for the baby. I'm very much looking forward to that experience of, you know, pulling my second daughter out and just putting her on my chest and having that like golden hour where there's just no bright lights, no anything. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, you said you were gonna pull her out. I said I'm gonna catch.
Oh. You know, I feel like we are a little bit of an anomaly in terms of, you know, our labor and our experience. I think generally they say that people kind of jump quickly to like, we need to go to the hospital and whatnot. And I would say have a balance there, you know, trust yourself. If, you know, you're the woman, really trust yourself. You know so much more than you think you do. Your body is really powerful and will communicate with you and let you know, like the moment that my mind and body connected and said it's time to go to the hospital was the perfect time for us to go to the hospital, because we labored at home for so long. It allowed us to get to that 9-centimeter mark. We showed up to the hospital and things progressed as they did, you know, good, bad, right, and wrong. But it was an experience that for us at home was just invaluable and just connected us, made us so much closer. And actually, like looking back on our experience, well, you know, the 12 hours of labor that we had at the hospital wasn't what we wanted. The 48 hours before were exactly what we wanted. So it was just really nice to have just the beautiful labor that we did, because we trusted ourselves so much, probably too much. And so I think, you know, for this next one, for us, just knowing like what we went through, I'm hoping that statistics are right and the second one's a lot faster. But we'll probably be a little bit more proactive and go to the hospital a little bit earlier. But that's for us, like that we have been able to learn. And again, it's because of my high risk issues. If we didn't have any of that, I would do the same exact thing again, show up at 9 centimeters, whatnot. But now, just because of, we know that I have to be on fluids, there's certain precautions that we have to take. We're gonna show up hopefully a little bit earlier so that things are just a little bit more calm at the hospital. And then I would just say, I feel like one of the things that is really tough for moms, just talking to, you know, friends that have been pregnant, is kind of getting their husbands or their partners on board for these, you know, hypnobirthing. It's five weeks, right? Yeah, 5 weeks, 3 hours on a Tuesday seems like a lot, but it's going to be the most important thing you do for your relationship, for the birth of your child, and just for you mentally. Your confidence level is gonna skyrocket. Like you are just gonna feel so prepared to go into this labor, and you're not gonna, so much of the fear is gonna be gone. Like everyone kept saying to me, like, aren't you so scared to push a baby out? Aren't you so scared to push it out? I was like, no, I am way more worried about day one with the baby than the experience of getting her here. Like it's just, I just felt so confident and so empowered through like learning everything that I did, and I felt like I could go into the hospital and own my experience. Like no one was gonna tell me like you have to have this or that. Like I just felt so educated that I could be in charge and making the decisions of my experience. And I think he felt the same.
I think that for a lot of dads, it can be, you know, this is mom's experience, and but mom pays attention and she knows if you're not connected, and it's not gonna empower you or her or the relationship if you're just kind of letting her read all the books and do all the research. So take accountability. If you know, maybe read a book on becoming a new dad, or any of the pamphlets they give you in hypnobirthing, Yeah, because ultimately you want to connect, you want to be there, you don't want to be absent in the whole process. And it's not just during labor and during the active birth, but just the months leading up to it. I think showing that you're there is going to strengthen, make you more confident, like you said, but also just strengthen your relationship with your partner.
Yeah, and in addition to hypnobirthing, we actually did do breastfeeding class with Birth Education Center. We did newborn care, we did CPR, and all of those classes helped us. Like one of the coolest things was like, let dad like have their evening routine with baby. Like, mom, don't get involved. And like that was just so important for me to hear, because it's, like he said, like it's a lot of it is on mom in the beginning to kind of have that, and we feel like we have to like own this whole experience, but you don't. You and your partner should be sharing this, and that's one of the things that hypnobirthing just made us both come to like realize, is that like this is such a shared experience. Like, just because I'm caring and just because I'm delivering doesn't mean I'm the sole provider. It doesn't mean I'm the only one that's like working to get our daughter here. It was definitely a collective effort. Like, I tell everybody, like, I could not have done what I did naturally without Justin. And so I think it's just such an amazing testament just to what you do learn from hypnobirthing and what you can achieve